Hey everybody, I am Alice Keeler and I am here with
me, Aida Isay.
me and Aida are here because we have been working together looking at how to do presentations and just as women coders, how to be more comfortable presenting what we're doing. So we thought it'd be fun to just present on Kotlin, which I don't know about you, but I have no idea what it is. But Ida knows how to do it. And so she's going to share her expertise and everything. And we're just going to do it really slow and ease into it. You know, obviously we are big fans of teachers, and why would teachers want to know about this? So let's go ahead and get going here. So tell everybody all about yourself.
Hi everyone. So my name is Aida Isay. I am a software engineer currently working at Doordash, and previously I have worked in multiple startups, building and scaling the apps, Android apps from the ground up. So industries range from the cloud gaming applications to fintechs, and now I'm in delivery industry.
So you're doing a delivery app for DoorDash?
Yes.
That's so cool. It was like probably exploding this whole last year.
Exactly. Yep.
How long have you been on the team?
Actually, I've been on a team only this is my second month.
So cool. And you just jump in and you're just coding on the Android app.
Exactly.
Awesome. What about your background? Like, how did you get into coding?
So I think, when was it? Around 6 years ago, I decided to switch.
Oops. Uh-oh. Sorry. Hold on. You know what happened is I don't have my friend Melody, who's so good at like toggling these, and I was trying to put you side by side like this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, awesome. Cool. So around 6 years ago, I actually was looking into how to get into the tech, into coding, because I did a little bit of web programming back in the days in my home country, and when I came to America, I wanted to continue doing that stuff. And then I found small online bootcamp school for programming, and I chose Java language at that time because like everybody was saying how it is more verbose and difficult, and I thought if I'm gonna invest my money in education, I want to invest in something that is difficult for me to grasp, so teachers can help me on that note, and then for easier stuff, then I can learn later on my own. So
okay, so I know JavaScript. JavaScript and Java are not the same thing, right?
They're not the same thing. Yep, they're two different completely languages. One of them is functional language, JavaScript, and another one is object-oriented, old school language. I mean, right. Java has been out there for a very long time. So I think around 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah, yeah. What do you feel like would be the most important language if someone were to want to just go into coding in general?
It depends what person wants to code. That's always the case.
That was my hang up for trying to what am I going to choose?
Yeah, it always comes down to what you want to do. Like, do you like more UX, UI design, and you really want to build something for front end?
Then wait, what's UX, UI design?
Well, for the websites, for example, right? Like everything related to the interaction with users, like the websites, the applications that you see, right? Mm-hmm. All of this stuff obviously requires a lot of skills, web development skills per se. If you let's say, how on Google Doc, for example, everything loads very fast, right? So you don't need to wait and nothing happens. It is because the backend is very streamlined, does a really good job. So to become a backend, you have to have certain set of skills, right? And a knowledge as well, which is a little different from the web development. And then same for the iOS and Android apps. Completely different set of skills it requires as well.
Yeah, back in the day, I bought a book because I thought I would try to learn how to code for the iPhone, and I bought a book on Cocoa, which now they use Swift, right? And it just sat on my shelf because I don't know, just getting started. Like, if I do this, then I'm coding for the iPhone. But what if I wanted to do the web, or what if I want to do these other things? And it just felt really hard to choose. So what do you recommend to people as they try to decide if they wanted to learn to code something? Yeah.
So I usually recommend, before, like jumping all the way in to coding, choosing one language and sticking with it, it's always good to like sample testing, right? Like you always actually try before buying. The same way, like especially nowadays when there are so many like free like website free information out there, like a lot of good content creators, they have information on how to build mobile app, web applications, websites, backend, and then there are a lot of tools are available to use. So I think that's what's important, to try on with those free tools first to see how good you can get. A lot of with development, like web development especially, they have playgrounds that you can use and see if you're really good, if you're getting to understand what's going on behind the scene of the code, right? So like, I know Swift came out recently with a playgrounds application specifically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've heard of Swift Playground.
Yes, exactly. So it helps you actually to understand step by step, understand what language is trying to do, right? Like you should be able to consume this information. So first, as always, try it on, see how you feel it. You like it, you'll stick with it. You don't like it, you'll go to the next one.
Yeah. And I think they have Swift Playground specifically for using in schools to help students get started with that. But of course, that's not what we're focusing on. Why do you think teachers would want to know about coding Android apps? Because you're coding the Android app specifically for Doordash, right?
Yes. Coding Android apps. I've been coding Android apps for past 6 years. And primary reason is because of the user base. There are over 2 billion Android consumers out there. So if you're going to think about reach.
How many? 2 billion?
2 billion.
Okay, how many iOS users are there? How many iOS users are there?
We have to check that one out.
Right, that can't be right. It says there's 113 million iPhone users. Oh,
Okay.
in the US. But what about, okay, it says there's over 1 billion active iPhones in the world as of January.
And Android, it's 2 billion active.
Yeah. Wow. So 2/3.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's a lot of information, a lot of users. And then what helps you is the platform itself. Android is open source platform, right? Therefore, not only you can learn about how to code applications for Android, you can also contribute into the ecosystem of Android development as well, which is a huge benefit, like, so then later on you can say, hey, guess what? The thing that you see on your Android phone, in the settings, right? Like there's rounded edges on the settings or like notifications. This is, I did it, like, something like that. That you can.
Okay, so because it's open source, you're able to contribute to the code for Android, where you'd have to work for Apple if you wanted to contribute to the code for iOS, right?
Yes.
Huh, I did not realize that. I mean, I knew it was open source. I just didn't realize it was more like Mozilla or where you can contribute to the code. So that's cool. So what kind of phone do you have?
I do have actually 3 different phones. I have Pixel 3.
Okay, Pixel 2.
Pixel 3, OnePlus 3, and I have iPhone 12.
What?
Yeah.
Why? You have an iPhone 12 and you have a Pixel. You have 2 Pixels and an iPhone 12.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a Pixel 4. I only have the one phone, although I will sheepishly admit, buy my daughter for her birthday the iPhone 12, and only because when I called the upgrader phone, I told them flat out we are not getting this iPhone 12. But of course, those are the ones that are going to offer you the trade-ins and the deals, and it ended up being a better price. And I'm like, all right, fine. She can have the iPhone 12.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sticking with Android. I do like that it's open source. I at least like the idea that I can code for it, and it's a little bit easier to get those things that I code onto the marketplace than it is in iOS. I don't know why, because I don't code Android, but it feels in philosophy like a good idea.
And plus also with Android as well, like the developing application that you use is much more easier to understand and grasp. And there's a lot of like in menu information that you can use and then start building, and it helps, to like auto generate for you things, right away on the fly. So it's easier to.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's easier to code Android than it is to code for iOS.
For beginners, yes.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. So what we were trying to educate on is that you codes for Android and the language is
Kotlin.
Yes. And so why Kotlin?
So Kotlin, because it's a functional language, it is widely adopted by Android community nowadays, and it also was acknowledged by Google, as an Android's first world citizen language.
Wait, what's a first world citizen language?
Well, I don't know how to say first world citizen. Like, it's a primary language of Android development, I would say. And then there's a second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one, just to make sure, we're not going to post, I hope, this broadcast.
Yeah. It's
So
live. Wave. We've got a few people watching right now, and it will be on my YouTube channel for those who would like to learn more. So our goal here today is to just kind of get warmed up and introduce teachers to that you can have your students code Android. And we're going to get together next week and try to be slightly less awkward because it's our first time. So we're both kind of figuring out how we're going to do this. But what's one next step that you might want to know in order to help your students, to encourage them into going into Android development, because it's a hot field, right?
Yep, definitely a hot field. And it's easy to use. Like, that's what most important stuff. And you can see the changes right away on your phone that's going on, that you're building. So visually, it's more representative, for you to see the change.
Okay, so you're not using like a simulator. You can actually build it right into your phone.
Yes, you can connect actually and build right on your phone. And plus also, you don't need to be like MacBook user, right? So the application to build Android apps exists for Macs, for Windows, right? And even for Linux if you want.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So it's open, it's available. There is no restrictions.
How about on Chromebook?
It actually, there were rumors about Chromebook that it's going to be available, but I'm not sure. Well, it's not that I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Chromebook can handle this application called Android Studio. Android Studio application is like pretty heavy application. So you really have to have a good RAM,
Okay. Oh, yeah. If anyone asks me, what computer should I get? And I'm like, these days, I don't know that it really matters. Get whatever computer you want. Just get as much RAM as you possibly can get.
Exactly.
Unless you're like a gamer or super highly specialized, you wouldn't be asking me anyway. You'd already know what specs you want. Get anything you want. Just get. I have 16 gigs of RAM right now, and I would just really, really like 32, but I have a Mac, and in order to get 32 gigs of RAM, I have to get the 16-inch, and it's so heavy. I'm like, I can't do it. So 16 is the max I can get right now. So if you can get 16, my friends, do it.
Yep, 16 is good. Even with 32, I noticed there a little bit of slowdown on Mac for some reason.
Yeah, I only have 16. So sometimes I'm feeling it with my 500 tabs I have going. The more tabs you have open, the more RAM you are using. Rapid access memory, just basically how fast your computer's running while you're using it. So the more the better. All right, cool. So how could teachers advocate for their students to learn to code Android apps?
How could teachers advocate? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's about the open source availability. There's no restriction. There's very low bar to enter the Android community in terms of, like you can use even like we're talking about the 16 gigabyte RAM and all this stuff. Even if with 8 gigabyte, you can still do. My sister has 8 gigabyte and she's been actually coding in Android like for the past 4 months, for example, right? Like building her application. So it didn't stop her. Like, so any kind of laptop, as long as you have a laptop, the application Android Studio is free to download and start building that Android apps from the scratch. You can start it easily.
For those who don't know, Chromebooks you cannot download things onto. So that would be probably the primary number one reason that you cannot use your Chromebook. And most Chromebooks that our students have will probably have only 4 gigs of RAM, which would make it another challenge. Obviously, like a little bit more computing power.
That's true. Yeah.
But we don't have to have our students coding in Kotlin as much as having an awareness that it exists, so that when we have, like I had students this year who are obviously interested in doing some sort of coding, and I just encourage them in general. In fact, even just a little bit of information, even if you can't do it yourself. Like I have several of my students, they want to be linemen. I don't know anything about being a lineman, but I did some research, I looked some things up, and it was a great way for me to make connections with kids to help draw them into my class because I'm giving them things that they think they can use outside of school. So Thomas is joining us. Hi, Thomas. Thank you. He wants to know, do you need to use the Android Studio for this?
To build Android applications, yes. Or you can use IntelliJ application right away. So Android Studio is some sort of a wrapper on top of the IntelliJ application. IntelliJ application is the application that is built by JetBrains company, the people behind the Kotlin language. So I'm getting like way too complicated. So
the answer is, yep, that's what you're going to need to use. Android Studio gives you something to get started with, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to show that in, not this week. This week we're just chatting, hanging out, kind of sharing who we are, how we got started with coding, what we code in, and what we recommend. And then we will demonstrate how to find Android Studio next week.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So we did this. How did you get started? You looked up, you just decided that you're going to take a class.
Yes, I actually, well, the story is not only about taking a class per se. It was like a story more about, at some point I was so tired of like, I used to, when I came to America, I was a server, right? So I would communicate, talk to people every single day, and I got tired of it. I'm like, okay, this is draining to me, like energy-wise, it's very draining. And I get tired of talking to people. And I'm like, I want to have something where I don't need to talk for 8 hours straight. And I started thinking, this sounds interesting.
Okay, now wait, now I'm an extrovert. Obviously, you're telling me you're a little more introverted, and I like to code. So that's not like say you have to do it because it's something quiet to do.
Not only that, plus also like I really wanted to go back to challenging myself as well, like mentally being able to think about something rather than just following instructions. And I started digging back to my history, like in my previous jobs and the previous experience that I had. And I'm like, okay, what I really liked about that, there's a Venn diagram of what you really like to do and what you're really good at it, and you combine all this together. In the middle, you find this is what you have to do.
Okay, yeah. It'll take me a long time to learn that I like to code, but I like to do a lot of things. So one thing that I think is really great about the coding is it's taking an idea and really problem solving and thinking through how to solve the problem. And I always like to say that the fist pumps are bigger, when you have to earn it. Like it wasn't easy to do necessarily because you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Like why would you make an app that someone already made? You have an idea of something that doesn't exist. That's why you go and code things, right? Because you're like, this doesn't exist, I'm going to invent it. Well, it takes a lot of creative thinking to invent a new app. So that feels very satisfying to me.
Yep, that's another thing too. Being able to keep yourself sharp, because I always say that too.
Hey, I'm curious how it went that you get this job at DoorDash. And so they just advertised in the newspaper, or?
No, so um, it usually gets to the point like once you have those first 1-2 years of experience in software engineering, all these recruiters just flood you in DMs on LinkedIn. That's what
Oh,
happens. Like they start actually sending DMs like this company is hiring, that company is hiring. Are you interested in this and that and so on? So it just keeps on going. And when I recently quit my job, my previous job, so what I did is I took my time. I was like, nope, burned out. Need to really rest. Don't think I'm ready to get back out there. So, and in April, that's where I actually started looking, and I'm like, okay, I think it's time for me to get back to the recruiters, who send me messages on LinkedIn. So I started replying to them, and that's how I got in touch with the DoorDash. Actually, engineering manager sent me a message from DoorDash. That's why I actually got in touch.
all right. So here's what I heard you say is students who are looking to make a lot of money making an app. Like I feel like they all think they're going to be YouTubers or they've got the next big idea for what kind of app to make. That, if they just invest a little bit of time to really practice in it, there's so many jobs out there. People will be just literally beating down your door through LinkedIn.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to definitely be telling some of my students about this. We have Chromebooks, so they're not going to be downloading Android Studio on their Chromebooks, but we can talk about some of the big ideas and have them think about what they want to, maybe if they're to design an app and do some research on what classes they could take to learn it, so that I can then tie that into what we're learning in class and say, these are skills that, I teach geometry. How much geometry do you use to code and design interfaces? Now, these are different. Do you design an interface or you just do the back end?
No, I do design interfaces. Okay, so interface is from the technical language perspective we're talking about. If so, yes. If not, if we're talking about
light, know your audience. So we're trying to introduce to people who have never heard of this and are curious as to why they might want to encourage their students to go into coding Android apps.
Okay, so interfaces in that case is just the UI stuff that we're talking
about. Yeah, the UI.
Okay, so I do not design UI. It's usually designers do that job, but we do have our input. Like let's say when they design something, they come back to us and they actually present to us some interface, and then we start asking questions. I'm like, do you think this optimal to have the button here? Do we want a user to interact with this information? How do we exactly want to present? Is it more optimal? Do we have a backend support, for this button if we're going to move to the next page? These questions, usually we bring it up. And so that's where we actually discuss with designers, with product, backend people as well. And we all come up with this unidirectional flow between designers, product, front end, and the back end. So awesome. That's how it works.
Okay. So, give me some real talk. How hard is this to learn? How long would it take me to go from zero to getting hired by DoorDash?
Good question. DoorDash has actually a lot of programs. It's a big company, so there's a new grad program, there's internship programs, right?
Paid internships?
They do have internships.
But do they get paid? Are they paid internships?
It's software engineering internships. They all get paid.
Okay, because teacher internships, we call it student teaching. We don't get paid.
Oh, wow, yeah. I know in business as well, I think internships don't get paid, because I had actually a degree in business and my internship didn't get paid. But
a lot of people, it's tough. You especially if you have some kids or you're trying to get into the field later in life, to just say you're going to take a pause and be able to do training and things when you have a mortgage or something to pay for. So if students who want to get into this is a field that could pay them to help get into it. They don't have to be ready to code for DoorDash. The DoorDash is going to help them when they have some basic skills and not be master coders. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
That's cool.
So that's what's important. They're gonna get paid, everyone. And how hard is to learn Kotlin? Not, it's not hard. If you know the syntax of the language, it is not hard. But you gotta learn the syntax of the language. And Kotlin
is just like if I were to learn Spanish, I got to learn the verbs, I got to learn the nouns, and so this is just a language, just like learning French or Japanese.
Yeah.
What other language do you speak?
Russian, Kazakh languages I speak. So like without words, like without dictionary, you can do anything, right? So you have to learn the
words, yeah.
Dictionary. So the same with Kotlin. And I know developers behind this Kotlin language, they're always up to date. They always post the most interesting, engaging blog posts about things that you did not know about the language, which is very important as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Encourage everyone. And they have Playground available on the website. So you can start.
Okay. We're going to get into that, not this week, but we're definitely going to get into that. So next week, we'll go just a tiny bit further and not get too much into the weeds on technicalities of making them, because we're just going to go slow and trying to help teachers understand some basic things that they could know to help relate to students, relay this information to students to encourage them to go into a field that is really rewarding, fun, and you get paid as an intern. So that would be super cool. So thanks for being here. We hope all of you will join us next week as we continue to look at coding Android apps with Kotlin. Bye.
Bye.